We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Good morning, everyone. How you doing today? We got some more to talk about. The Mac Pro has been dominating the news cycle, it seems like. The main thing has been what? The main thing has been the price. Everybody's worried about the price. $52,000. $52,000 costs more than the new truck, that new cyber truck that's come out. Justine Paula Robillard says, good morning, Richard. Hope the coffee is hot, the snow cold, and the chat exciting. Well, a couple of those will probably, maybe all three will come to fruition. So, the first thing that I want to talk about, well, like I said, Man Cave says, good morning from Germany. Lutz. Pappenfub? I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. That's something I don't know. Let me just check one thing real quick. Okay, that sounds good. I was just checking the audio. Sometimes the audio is a little, I have to get it adjusted, listening to it live rather than through my headphones, which I normally do. So it's like everybody is talking about the Mac Pro, the Mac Pro, the Mac Pro this, the Mac Pro that, and they're all talking about $52,000 price tag. Listen, I got mine for like $11,500, plus I'm getting $1,500, $1,400 back on my iMac Pro trade-in. That brings it down to $10,000, plus I'm getting 6% cash back. That brings it down even further, below $10,000 for a nice configurable 16 core, which is what I've got, 48 gigabytes of RAM. And a bunch of other things. What did I get? 32 gigabytes. So Lutz says, yeah, not easy for English speakers. Sorry, we'll call you Lutz. Man Cave Productions, that's what we'll call you. And Edgar, we'll get to your question in a minute. Let me see something here. What do we have? Here we go. Pull this one off, put that one up. There we go. Final Cut Pro Radio TV Live. More Mac Pro talk. It's dominated Twitter for as far as the Twitterverse. So Art Aldridge says, if you can't justify the price, then don't buy it. My last tripod cost me more than $10,000. Exactly. First off, do not worry about what somebody else buys. Okay? If somebody wants to buy that, if they want to buy the Cybertruck, if they want to spend $10,000 on a tripod, it's none of your concern. You just worry about what you do. Don't worry about what everybody else does. So the main thing is the price, okay? Well, I have got to, let me go over to here real quick. This is FCPX.TV, okay? I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of Mac Pro articles that have come out for the 2019 Mac Pro. And some of the people, a couple of them, have done YouTube comparisons. Okay, this one right here, for example. YouTube price compared to PCs, okay? I got to get rid of the commercial. We'll let the commercial run for a second. We'll get rid of the commercial, then I'll hit me skip ads. So this guy does comparison to PCs and the Mac Pro. Listen, first off, there's no reason for you to be worried about the top tier price. Here's how you price a Mac Pro. See what you have now. See how much RAM you have now. What kind of processors you have now. What kind of video cards you have now. And then bump it up a little bit. That's what I did. I bumped mine up from an 8 core. I think I'm an 8 core. Maybe I might just be a quad core. Let me see what it is. I got 8 gigabytes of video RAM right now. Support. No, I'm not sure what the heck. I either got a quad core or a 16 core. I mean a quad core or an 8 core. So I bumped it up to 16 cores. I bumped my video memory up to whatever. But listen, these things are this Mac Pro is cheaper than a comparable PC if you buy it from the manufacturer. I'm not talking about if you go and build it from scraps like MacGyver. I'm not talking about that. So, but these guys done comparisons. I've seen 2 comparisons now where they had HP desktops that are comparable for $81,000. $81,000 for the top end. But once again, most of us are not going to get that. We're going to get a much lower priced, $8,000, $10,000, whatever. I have a cough button now. I love that. I love the fact that I got a cough button. It makes all the difference in the world. Physical cough button rather than clicking. Justine says it's a capital expense. Apple knows who is buying and who is broadcasting. 52 for something is cheap for somebody who's doing commercial. If you get the top end. So Lutz says, so is the CPU changeable or not? It absolutely is. Not only is it changeable, you can keep the one that you buy and add a second one. You can add a third one. I got 8 PCIe slots. That's where the graphics cards go. So let's look at something here. Once again, I'm going back to my article, FCPX.tv. Go there. I have dozens and dozens of Mac Pro articles there. So let's look at this. After he said, upgrade graphics in your Mac Pro. Here you go right here. There you go. It's right there on the page. Apple talks all about it. Let me...
Damage caused by failure to follow the directions supplied by Apple is not covered under Apple's warranty. Before we start, you'll need a Phillips head cord. Then, touch straight up and off the Mac Pro. Then loosen the screws and remove the clamp plate on the lower right side of the MPX base. And then slide the PCI retention latch to the right to unlock the MPX base. If you're replacing an existing MPX module, pull out the MPX eject lever at the bottom of the module to release it from the logic board.
So once again, yes, it absolutely is upgradable. Here's what's upgradable by users. Power supply, GPUs, the RAM. Those are the 3 main things. Here's what you can't upgrade. You can't upgrade wheels. You can get wheels aftermarket. Brad Olson says that Apple video feels like a flight safety video. It certainly does. They're interesting. They're making them kind of simple for most people, I guess. It does feel like one. So you can upgrade RAM. Very easy. You can upgrade graphics cards. You can put your own PCIe cards in. You can actually get wheels after the fact. I know the wheels are $400. I'm not getting the $400 wheels, that's for sure. But the wheels are upgradable after the fact. So let's just see. So Lutz says, sorry, I meant the CPU. No, as far as I know, the CPU is not upgradable. That would make, because the CPU has a lot to do with the motherboard and stuff. The CPU is not upgradable. So Yes, that's not upgradable. I mean, I'm saying it's not. I'm presuming it's maybe soldered in, or if it's socketed, I would think maybe there's some upgrades that might be available down the road, but probably you have to change the whole motherboard out, which I don't, who the heck knows at that point. But at that point, look, if I find something else that I like, I'm planning on keeping this for 5, 6, 7, 8 years as my main machine. They have I can upgrade, I can, get more video RAM. I can do a lot of things. I can get more regular RAM. So this is one of the things I wanted to talk about, the RAM situation. So let me go back to this guy real quick. So the RAM situation, the RAM is interesting in this one because it's not straightforward if you're going to, let me just look at this real quick. Well, anyway, it's not, if the RAM is not that straightforward if you're going to change it yourself, okay? It's not. It is a little bit complicated. Let me just see this. Okay, so here's from Apple support. Once again, this is on FCPX.tv. I have it listed there. So here's the RAM, supported RAM. Mac Pro supports up to 12 DIMMs installed in configuration 4, 6, or 8, or 12 DIMMs, as shown in the images below. Now, from what I've read in a couple of different places, the RAM, it has, what does it say? It says something about this, it uses six, I'm not sure, but somebody said it's better to use 6 RAM slots rather than just the 4. Because of the channels or something, it has 6 channels. So that's going to be, that's one of the reasons that I got 6. I upgraded my RAM from the 4 slots, base slots, which is 32 gigs, to 48 gigs. That gives me 6. And that leaves me 6 additional slots. It has 12 slots. But the interesting thing is how you replace it. So it's not that straightforward. So it's showing you different patterns here. 4 DIMMs go in slot 3, 5, 8, and 10. 6 DIMMs go 1, 3, 5, 8, 10, and 12. And if you do 8 DIMMs, you do it this way. It shows you how to do it this way on over here. And 12 DIMMs, of course, is everything's full. You can indeed install DIMMs of different sizes. Let me just do this real quick. You can indeed install DIMMs of different sizes, okay? You can. If your DIMMs are different capacities, like 4 16 gigs and 4 32 gigs, they must be installed according to these requirements. It gets a little bit complex. You have to pay attention. Install DIMMs in order of the channels, install DIMMs in identical pairs for each channel, install DIMMs in order of smallest to largest capacity, use only R-DIMMs or only LR-DIMMs. Use the supported configuration. So here's how you do it. This is all available this is available here on my website, FCPX.tv. I have all these articles categorized for you. Now here's what I do. When I do these articles, what it is I want to save these articles for myself. I want to have a reference to these articles because I read them and you lose them. Where is that article? I can't remember what the article was. I make a list of articles as I find them, and then I put them up on FCPX.tv. That's what I do. So one of our friends, Ronnie Cortons, has an article. He has an article out over at fcp.co. Ronnie Cortons, he spent some time with James Tonkin from Hangman Studios, and he has a nice article there. Of course. But there's lots and lots and lots of articles. I mean, I'm going to keep on adding these as the day goes on and the days go on. I'll keep adding the articles here. Let me do this here. So Lutz says, what I really dislike is the SSD has to be installed from Apple. Only your boot SSD has to be installed from Apple. And I have a feeling, first off, the SSD that the Apple boots from, the SSDs, are not in a PCIe slot, at least not on one of the 8. It's on the other side of the Mac Pro. That's where the SSDs are. I have a feeling the reason they do that is because it has to be blessed by the security chip. Let's go look at that real quick. Let me see. Let me pull that up and we'll go take a look at that. Mac Pro New. Design. Let's go look. So I know I looked at that yesterday. So the SSD that Apple installs, and they require you to do it yourself. Let's look at this real quick. So this side is where the graphics are. These are graphics cover boxes. They install in pairs. This is where the PCIe slots are. PCIe slot. This is, I'm not sure, that's an internal, some ports internally. These are the slots here. This is the CPU up here, the box for the CPU. This is the side where the memory goes here, the memory goes here, and the SSD actually goes on this side of the Mac Pro. Let me see if I can get another clearer picture of it, because I saw it yesterday, and actually I know where it is. I'll get it from over here. I saw it yesterday, and I was wondering, because somebody asked if the SSDs occupy a PCIe slot. Well, they're PCIe from what I can understand, but they are not in one of the PCIe slots. Here it is. So let's look at this. So this is the SSD. Okay. Mac Pro supports up to 2 solid-state drives. If you need to remove or replace the SSD modules, contact Apple or an Apple certified provider. Okay, so that is on the other side. It's not one of the eight PCIe slots that are available for graphics cards and for other things. It's on the other side. I have a feeling, not positive, but I got a feeling that has to do with the T2 chip. So let's look at this. Here we go. So this is where the SSDs are, in here. This is your RAM modules up here. This is the CPU. This, of course, is the main fan. But the RAM modules are here, okay? They are not here. These are graphics cards, PCIe slots. I think the afterburner card goes in here somewhere. This is the CPU from the other side. That's not where the SSDs are installed. So, but I have a feeling, I'm not positive, it's not a physical limitation. I think that Apple has to do something to make sure the T2 security chip blesses that SSD to make sure it's encrypted right or whatever. That's what I'm presuming happens. Something like that happens. They're not doing it for a physical reason. So, but here's the other thing. Okay? You can add your own internal storage. Okay? This one, for example, is the Promise Pegasus R4i 32 terabyte RAID MPX module for the Mac Pro. So this is an MPX module. It'll take up a couple of PCIe slots. So that regular SSD and storage can be added to that. Now, I have external storage myself. I have 2 RAIDs. I have 2 24 terabytes of usable storage, 24 terabyte RAID 5 storage that I use for my main back and forth working on projects. I back those up just to bare drives. So I'm going to answer one question before it gets away from me. Somebody asked at the beginning. Being from DC, what is your guess percentage of people in the area using Final Cut Pro 10? Edgar P. Davis asks that question. Edgar, I don't know. I don't know I have no idea. I think the government is largely entrenched with Avid. At least it was when I was down there a couple years ago, 3 years ago. I worked at the National Archives for 8.5 years down in D.C. on Pennsylvania Avenue, halfway between the White House, halfway between the Capitol. When I got there, they had an Avid system on a PC. They hired me as their lead editor, and I soon became the post-production supervisor, and that Avid system went out the window. First off, the Avid system that they had, whatever the hard drive configuration, the RAIDs and stuff, it sounded like an airplane. It was so loud, I couldn't even have it in the same room. It was terrible. Plus it was on a PC, it was broken. I'm not saying the Avid system is terrible, just this installation was really, really bad. I didn't like it at all. So I brought up Final Cut Pro 7 initially, and that switched over to Final Cut Pro 10. So there's other people that are using Final Cut Pro 10. I know for a fact. I've talked with them. And I think you'll see more and more systems of Final Cut Pro 10, depending on what Final Cut Pro 10.5 is. If Final Cut Pro 10.5 has collaboration better than it has now, I think that'll increase all the way around. What do you think? Or if you're from DC, Edgar, what are you seeing? I mean, I just, I'm a Final Cut Pro person, so that's what I did. So once again, so we have storage. You can do internal storage if you want. I guess at some point I might put an internal module in there too, but I got a 2 terabyte SSD startup drive for that reason alone. So Edgar says he's in LA now. Okay, very good. I think you'll be seeing, once again, let's see what 10.5 has to offer, okay? There is an article today. Let me see if I can pull that up. Okay, so here's an article about the Afterburner. So the Afterburner is interesting. Right now, it says, accelerates decoding and playback of multiple streams of ProRes and ProRes RAW video files. There is a little hint today that it says, can third-party apps use Afterburner? Of course, talk to them. It does not accelerate ProRes or ProRes RAW encoding. It just accelerates decoding and playback. But there is something today. Let me see if I can pull that up here. And there, I'll bring it up. Here we go. Red and Apple, complete metal GPU accelerated RD3 support. Okay? They've accelerated that. Now, it says third parties can start integrating into their apps. Getting the Metal SDK done took priority over rewriting whatever. This is from Red Digital Cinema. Apple's new hardware will bring mind-blowing level of performance to metal-accelerated, proxy-free RD3 workflows in Final Cut Pro 10 that editors truly have never seen before. We are very excited to bring a metal optimized version of R3D. Here's the interesting part. I also read a quote from him, it might not have been on the record, that the Afterburner card is indeed going to be able to incorporate red support going forward. From what everybody says, that card is programmable. That would not surprise me in the least. So, let's see here. How many Afterburner cards can I install in a Mac Pro 2019? Up to 3. Up to 3 Afterburner cards. What's going to be interesting is, so installing 3 Afterburner cards would be about $6,000. They're $2,000 a piece, $2,000 a piece. Would that be more beneficial than upgrading your graphics card? Or putting in two graphics cards in? Don't know. Have to see how the performance equation between Afterburner cards and GPUs works out. So I bought the 32 gigabyte graphics card as of now. They have a 16 gigabyte version coming out. They talked about it on the buy page. So on the buy page, you go to configure. Apple says, so I got the 16 core, and I got the memory. I got the 48 gigabytes of memory. It's only $300 more, and I wanted 6 sticks to start out with. I didn't want to worry about 4 sticks. I wanted to get 6 sticks to balance everything out a little better. So I can get, OWC has the memory already. I can get that. So they have the 8 gigabyte. I was going to get that initially, but then I said, you know what? I want to start out of the gate. I want to be on the get-go as soon as I get through to the starting gate. So I got the 32 gigabyte version. So here's what's interesting. Here's what's coming soon. 16 gigabytes of the Radeon Pro 5700X coming soon. 2 Radeon Pros coming soon. So I'll be interested in this configuration, either the 16 or the 32, instead of the other one that I have. My Mac Pro is not going to be shipping for a couple of weeks. So if coming soon means a couple of weeks, I'll have to see the price point of those two and whether 2 of the 16 gigabytes would be better than the 32 gigabyte one. I don't know. I have no idea. But I will, if it comes out before it ships, I will consider one of those 2 options. Either the single 16 or the double 16. Both of those are upgrades from what I have right now. And then once again, I got the 2 terabyte of storage simply because I just want to start out with a good quality. I want to start with a good machine. I don't want to worry about buying my Mac Pro and then upgrading it as soon as it gets here. And if I put in a third-party RAM, if there's a problem with that RAM, Apple's not going to, of course, diagnose that for me. Then I have to have that deal with, but they will diagnose it if it's Apple RAM. So I got 48 gigabytes of Apple RAM. That's fine. That's fine. It's $300 more. The SSD cost $200, $800 more than the stock, but it's 2 terabyte. This is ridiculous to me, 256 gigabytes. I mean, you barely get your operating system and a couple of extra things on it. So I didn't want to go to 1 terabyte. I want to upgrade, so I got to 2 terabyte. Is anybody out there getting a Mac Pro with me, or am I the only one in the audience? I don't know. So let's talk about, so it's a couple of things about the Mac Pro that I'm curious about. So we found we can mix RAM sizes. You can do that. I wasn't sure about that. I have all 8 gigabyte sticks, 6 8 gigabyte sticks. You can, but I have 6 slots open. I can add OWC RAM later. I can get 16, 32 gigabyte sticks, whatever I want to do. So 3 afterburner cards. Once again, if I go to a ProRes workflow, I will get an afterburner card. Right now I'm not. I'm using a GH5. And my iPhone, which uses H.264, H.265. Kripa says he'll be getting a Mac Pro after he wins the lottery. Congratulations if you do. But everybody is squeaking about the top tier Mac Pro, $52,000. That's not the one they're going to be selling. They're going to be selling ones for $10,000, $15,000 for most people. And that's a gigantic step up from what I'm doing now with this 2017 iMac, or I have a 2019 8-core MacBook Pro out there. This is going to be a dramatic step up in performance and rendering and exporting and everything else for me. So it's not $52,000. It's like I said, it's $11,500, and with my Mac trade-in and 6% back, it's less than $10,000. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, of course it is, but that's what I want. I want a Mac Pro. I love the Mac Pro, always have. So that's what I want. So don't worry about this $52,000. You just, if you buy a car, do you worry about the top tier car with all the extras? Is that how you do it, or do you say, okay, I want to step up from what I got right now? But you can add 3 afterburner cards. You can add wheels. Wheels are $400. I'm not going to be doing that. That has to go back to Apple too, so some kind of a whatever the heck they're doing. You probably got to pull the whole the stainless steel frames out and put new ones back in. I presume that's why they're doing it after fact and why it costs $400. Not sure. Adding the SSD, Apple has to do it themselves. Here's one of the things I keep reading. This Mac Pro is silent, even when running at all the cores. I've seen multiple, a recording studio had it. I've seen that. It's like silent. It's like silent. So that's exciting. I mean, they've done their, whatever it is, their science, and they got the fans working that's doing things. Here's one of the things I'm concerned about. When we look at the front of the Mac Pro, let's pull that up here. Let's go back. Let me go back to Mac Pro. When you look at the front of this thing, my question is, what about dust getting in here? Or is that going to blow completely through? So I might have to see. I might be doing just a light filter on the front, an air filter of some sort without restricting air, and it wouldn't be directly on it. It would be like just surrounding it perhaps. Because, we have dust. I have a wood-burning stove, and that creates a lot of dust. I'll be curious how they recommend that to take care of the dust issue, because, of course, it's going to have dust. Maybe it blows it all the way through. Maybe that's what they're going to do. So one of the other things, so when I talked to Apple back in 2016, when they had the MacBook Pro, and Cupertino at the FCPX Creative Summit. We go to the Creative Summit. When we go to Apple HQ, we go there for a reason. One of the reasons is to have hands-on with these people. Well, when I went there in 2016, they introduced the fingerprint sensor on the MacBook Pro. And I asked them at that point, is there any reason why you can't have one of those on a regular keyboard? Wireless keyboard. And they said, No, there's no technical reason why it can't be done on a wireless keyboard. So my question is, why don't they have a fingerprint sensor on the Mac Pro keyboard? I mean, entering, I do use my watch, my Apple Watch, to unlock, but I'm so used to touching the MacBook Pro keyboard to unlock things, to enter passwords, etc., that entering it by hand, typing it in seems so like 2015. So everybody's talking about that monitor as well. Let me just pull this up. Look at this monitor. 49 inches, I think, an LG monitor. Look at this thing. It even looks like somewhat like a Mac Pro somewhat. I'm not saying it. The Mac Pro monitor, I mean the XDR monitor as well. Look at this thing. It's incredible. I have a 32-inch LG monitor to my right, which is to your left, that I'll be using with the Mac Pro initially, 32 inches. And that's going to be a blessing because even as beautiful as the 5K iMac screen is, I just don't have enough width a lot of times. So I like to have the longer timelines and things and put windows to the side. And that's what I will be doing. Absolutely. So that's maybe in my future. And this thing's like $1,500. Now, I realize it's not a color grading monitor. I realize all that. If I was doing serious color grading and stuff, I would just go ahead and spring for the Apple XDR display, but I'm not. So that would be a fantastic timeline to have. I would really like that. Not bad. 49 inches wide. $1,500. Not bad at all. That's probably what I'll be getting at some point. So, Final Cut Pro 10.5. When are we going to see that? At this point, it's looking like 2020, of course. Apple, if they don't put it out in the first month or so, I would say they're probably waiting strategically for NAB. NAB is the last part of April this year. It starts on Sunday morning, but things are going on Saturday night. I think Future Media Concepts has their big event on Saturday night. They used to have it on Sunday night. Now they're going to have it on Saturday night. So that's what I guess they're going to be introducing Final Cut Pro 10.5. Now listen, Final Cut Pro 10.4 came out 2 years ago, 24 months ago. We still haven't seen 10.5. We don't know what 10.5 is. However, I would be surprised if we don't see that red support in 10.5, which I think we will officially. It may be in the Afterburner card, and BRAW support. Everybody's clamoring for BRAW support in Final Cut Pro 10. Well, I'm going to presume that's coming in 10.5. 24 months they've been working on 10.5. 8 updates. They're one update behind 10.0. 10.0 had 9 updates. 9 updates before they switched to 10.1. That was a major difference. 10.0 had separate event and separate libraries, separate projects. They were different folders or something on the hard drive. So I used to just use compound clips. I didn't want 2 separate drives, 2 separate folders. But anyway, something big is happening with 10.5. It's not going to be just, some people said, it's just going to be metal support. No, that's already done. That was 10.4.7. 10.4.8 came out, it gave us a couple of bug fixes, performance enhancements, whatever you want to call it. But 10.5, who knows? It's going to come out in 2020. I would take a $100 bet that it's coming out in 2020. I would take a $100 bet it's coming out the first 6 months of 2020. And if it doesn't come out right away, I'm going to say NAB. We'll see it before or at least by NAB for sure. Alrighty. So anyway, when you see all these prices, $52,000, that's ridiculous. That's only the most high-end people. So you can also do things like replace the Apple I/O cards replaceable, user replaceable. The power supply is user replaceable. RAM is user replaceable. Graphics cards are user replaceable. These are all the PCIe slots over here. The afterburner card is over here somewhere, I think. But anyway, when I get my Mac Pro, yeah, I'm not really that interested in doing an unboxing video, but I will just do a basic one so you guys can actually see my version of it. Everybody's version is different. Right now, it's not coming for a couple of weeks. I still have time to cancel and replace the graphics card if they come up with the 16 gigabyte version one. If it's dramatically cheaper than the 32, or if I can get two 16s for less money, I might consider that. Don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But once again, everybody, go to FCPX.tv. I will have all the Mac Pro articles that I can find over here, like I always do. This is my personal list that I make public. So there's one. Let's look at this real quick. Encrypted storage on your new Mac. Of course, this is November 6th. Oh, this is 2018. This is an old article. But it came up. That's why I don't understand. We got the T2 chip. Why don't they have the fingerboard sensor on the keyboard? I have wired keyboards for the most part because I want the numeric keypad. Now the new Mac Pro has a keypad, but it's wireless, so I'll see how that works. See if I like that or not. Don't know. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out of here in a few minutes, I think. These are all the Apple support articles. Connect multiple 4K, 6K displays. Thunderbolt 3, supported 6K displays. Talks about that there. We also have Afterburner accelerator card, Mac Pro status light indicator behavior. It blinks different ways depending on what you're doing. PCIe cards. This is a very nice article. It tells you the different slots that are available. This is a ×4, ×8, ×8, ×16, ×16, 16, 8, and 16. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 16s, 1, 2, 3, 4 8s, and then the 1 4. And I think the 4 has the Apple I/O card installed in it. But look at this. Mac Pro automatically balances bandwidth between all the cards across the two PCI pools. You can use expansion slot utility, which is on the same thing. This, of course, goes this will come. Talks all about the Mac Pro slot. So Jasper Seegers, who has, congratulations, Jasper, you came out with your release this week with Hedge. He says, I think Apple's not really motivated by events like the Summit, NAB, or IBC. They'll just release whatever they see fit. So 10.5 will come whenever it's ready. Jasper, when have you ever seen a major version of Final Cut Pro come out that wasn't around the Summit or NAB? Recently, in the last 3 to 4 years. All the major releases, 10.3 came out at the Summit, 10.4 came out at the Summit, 10.4.4 came out at the Summit, They released one, I think it was 10.2 at NAB. We haven't seen that in the last 4 or 5 years. They've always been around one of the major events. I'm not saying that they target those events, but I'm saying as it gets ready, they consider, well, let's bring it out around those events. I think 10.2 came out at NAB, 10.3 came out at the summit, 10.4 came out at the summit, 10.4 came out at the summit, our last major one. 10.5 very likely will come out around NAB. That's my guess. Do they have to do that? No, they don't. But they have for the last 4 or 5 years. The other thing about the summit is we go to the NAB HQ for a reason. We don't go there just to shake hands with people. We do that all weekend long at the summit. So that's what's happened there in the past. So they absolutely do. But anyway, congratulations on your release with hedge.com. We'll get you back on. Maybe we'll talk about that. You were kind enough to demonstrate that at the summit. You were there. So I think that's it for today, everyone. Do you have any other questions? We'll get you back on, Jasper, since you had a release. Maybe you and Paul both from Hedge. We'll talk about that. Listen, this week, there's been so much stuff that happened this week, right? We had the Mac Pro, which was the biggest thing, one of the biggest things that happened. We had, what else? I'm not going to go on Twitter here real quick. So we had the Mac Pro. That's the biggest thing, of course. We had the small update to Final Cut Pro, bug fix update. PostLab officially is out. So that's really, really cool. We had the announcement from Red. We had this. We had all these other announcements. We've had all kind of things. Promise has their stuff coming out for, let me just pull this up real quick. Just looking on Twitter to see what's going on with the Mac Pro update. Let me see. The XDR display came out this week. Everybody's talking about, listen, if you think that talking about how expensive the Mac Pro is bad for Apple, it's not bad for Apple. It gives them publicity and publicity and publicity and more publicity. Apple's a premium product. I would not be spending that kind of money on one. I don't need one. I don't need that kind of performance. I'm upgrading to it, like I said, 11,500. It'll be less than 10,000 by the time I do my trade-in and get my 6% back. It's well worth it. It's the same price range as I'd be getting an iMac Pro. I'm getting something. So, how long have we been waiting? 2013 to 2019, 6 years since the last Mac Pro came out. I didn't get a last Mac Pro. I wasn't interested. This one, I'm very, very interested. Tons and tons of information. But there's a lot of things that are happening this week based around the Mac Pro and Final Cut Pro. So I have no idea what's happening in 10.5. Some people out there watching might. They might have an idea what's coming in 10.5. They might have an idea. I mean, it's going to be 2020. I'm just saying I think it's going to be NAB. A lot of people have said that. That's not that big of a surprise. Jasper says, when will you get your Mac Pro? I will probably, it's scheduled for the right around Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's time frame. So, like I said, I'm not really interested in doing an unboxing video, but I'll just do a quick one so you guys can see my setup that I have. Probably. I mean, I've seen plenty of unboxing videos. The box is enormous. I'm interested to see how quiet it is, because it says it's really quiet. But one of the things that I have to do, I have to get some longer Thunderbolt 3 cables. I have 1 or 2 right now that they're about, I don't know, about 1.5 feet, 30 inches, something like that. OWC has a 6-foot one, which I will need, that's the full spec, 40 gigabytes a second. It's, certified and all that. You don't want to get one that's less. So William Jones says, one thing worries me about the Mac Pro is PCIe 3, not PCIe 4, so it might be out of date in 3 years. So out of date, well, 3 years is a long time, right? In PC worlds and Mac worlds. I wouldn't say it'd be out of date. I mean, it'll be fine. I'm not worried about that. And besides, I can trade in the Mac Pro if I want to. That's not a problem in 3 years. I don't really intend on it. It depends on how things are going. I mean, Tony Gallardo, hey Tony, what's up? He says, howdy everyone from Texas. We're waiting on our first snow. We haven't had a snow here yet, but we're going to get one. There's some other things that came out this week, right? What am I missing? The Mac Pro is a big thing. Right. Tony says, peeps are still rocking Mac Pros from 2012. Yes. I'm not worried about that. I mean, at some point you have to say we're going to stop now and we have to put something out. Oh, there you go. Color Finale. That's what else came out this week. Color Finale 2.0 came out this week. That's another big update. Color Finale 2.0. So there's a lot of stuff happened this very active week right before Christmas happens. People are going to be starting to get their Mac Pros. Tony Gallardo says, yes, Color Finale. I got a question for Color Finale peeps. So I upgraded last year. Denver Riddle had a thing, but I don't know if it's Color Finale. I don't know what. I upgraded to the Pro version of whatever was available 1 year ago in December from Denver. But when I went to put my email address in to update to get an upgrade price for Color Finale 2.0, it said it didn't recognize it. So I'm a little confused about that. I don't do that much coloring, but I like to support Denver. So I had a couple of questions. One of them was, oh, there we go. Apple and Red. That was just the Apple and Red thing. So people asked me, one guy asked me about why I didn't just wait and get OWC RAM instead of upgrading from 4 sticks to the 6 sticks. Well, there's 2 reasons. Number one, I think the 6 sticks run better with the Mac Pro. I read that a couple places. Number 2 is $300. Number 3 is I don't want to have to worry about getting a brand new Mac Pro and installing third-party RAM and have to worry about troubleshooting if there's any issues. I just want to get the Mac Pro, unbox it, and go. Later, I'll update. And somebody asked me about the Afterburner card. Well, I shoot on the GH5, so I'm not shooting with ProRes RAW. So that's the reason I didn't get the Afterburner. Plus, I wouldn't at this point anyway. That's easy to install later. Very, very easy. Tony, are you getting a Mac Pro? Tony Gallardo, are you getting a Mac Pro? I know you want to. So that's about it for today, everyone. Unless you have any more questions, I'm going to get out of here. Today is Friday the 13th. Tony says, no, sir. Really want to? William Jones says, what video card are you getting? I am getting let me see what it's called. I bumped it up 1, William. I bumped it up to this one. Radeon Pro Vega 2 with 32 gigabytes of whatever that is. Right now I have 8 gigabytes of memory in my iMac Pro. And that's, once again, it's not shipping for a couple of weeks. If they come out with the Radeon Pro 16 gigabytes and then 2 of those, I'll see what the difference would be in price and performance, perhaps, with these 2. once it comes out. It says coming soon, so I didn't want to get the stock one. It just, I want the machine to be plenty powerful by the time I get it. I don't want to have to be worried about upgrading it. Tony says mine would cost $20 to $25K. There you go. $20 to $25K. That's a good bit. All right, everybody. I think I'm gonna head out of here. Let's see if there are any other questions for today. So, as long as you're here, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button down there. Give me a couple of likes if you don't mind. I would appreciate that. That's always encouraging to do more. We will be having a few more of these before Christmas, before the holiday season. And we'll have to see what happens with 10.5. Like I said, I expect it to be out around NAB, if not before. They could put it out at any point. Tony says, cheers. Tony, tell us about that Texas barbecue when you get a chance. You had some great barbecue, and we do like barbecue. So anyway, everybody, I think I'm going to get out of here for today. There's my Strat in the background. Where is it? It's over here. That's my 69 Strat. That's a 69 Strat. 4-bolt neck, if anybody is into Strat guitars. That's my main one that I've done most of my songwriting and stuff on. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't think there's anything else for today. I think that's just about it. All right, everyone, I'm going to be getting out of here. We'll have to figure out how to have a meet-up here in Texas for some barbecue. I like Texas. Texas seems like a really, really cool state. If I ever get there, I'll certainly let you know, and we'll hook up for barbecue. This has been Final Cut Pro Radio Live. My name is Richard Taylor. Oh, make sure you go to FCPRadio.com. That's where the latest podcast is. There'll be another podcast coming out before Christmas. And I do want to thank LumaForge for sponsoring Final Cut Pro Radio all these years. They have sponsored us. YouTube.com, Richard Taylor TV is where you're watching right now. Join our Facebook group, Facebook.com groups, Final Cut Pro Radio. That's where we do a lot of discussion and things, talking about Final Cut. And that's where you'll be notified as soon as something before any place else about what's going on with these live streams and stuff. There's Twitter. Of course, everybody have a great weekend. I know I'm going to have one. And Final Cut Pro 10.5. We'll see when that comes out. I'll let you know if the shipping notice comes from my Mac Pro. I'll let you know on Twitter. All right, everyone. I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for coming by. Hit the like button and subscribe if you don't mind. Thank you very much.